Ciao amici, benvenuti al Facile come Italiano. Hello everybody, welcome to Easy as Italian. I'm Reza and here we want to talk about Trapassato prossimo. Well, what is the difference, you may wonder, between Trapassato prossimo and Passato prossimo? Well, with this image you would completely understand. Presente, we have, before that, Passato prossimo. Before that, trapassato prossimo. So literally, something that had happened before something that has happened. So we would translate it as past perfect in English language. Now, something very cool and easy about it that I would teach you in some seconds is that it completely follows everything that we have learned about passato prossimo. But before we talk about it, we want to check the indicative tenses a little more. Well, we have talked about this thing that in Italian we have many tenses, right? We have indicative, we have subjunctive, conditional, and stuff. Now, for indicatives that we are learning right now, it has 8 tenses. Which ones we have learned till now? Futuro semplice, that was pretty semplice. Then presente, imperfetto, passato prossimo, and trapassato prossimo that we want to learn right now. Then we have another tense, futuro anteriore, that is really cool and really easy, and that goes before futuro semplice. We would learn it after trapassato prossimo in another session, so you don't have to wait so much. But I said that indicatives are 8 tenses, right? So why there are 6? We have also passato remoto and also trapassato remoto. But I consider these two the final bosses of Italian language. Okay, so we would learn them after we've learned all the other tenses. Now, let's go for trapassato prossimo. Well, in passato prossimo, we used to say that when we want to make it, we have to use an auxiliary verb that mostly is essere or avere. One of these two. We use the present conjugation of one of these two, and then we would put the past participle of our main verb in front of that, and then passato prossimo was completed, the close past. For trapassato prossimo, we do the same. We have the auxiliary verb that is essere or avere again. Then we use the past participle of our main verb. But the difference is that we use the imperfetto conjugation for our auxiliary verb. So, for example, in passato prossimo, I could say ho voluto, I wanted. But now, in trapassato prossimo, I would say avevo voluto, I had wanted. Or, in passato prossimo, I could say siamo andati, we went, or we have gone. Now, in trapassato prossimo, I can say eravamo andati, we had gone, okay? And it's pretty simple, you just have to remember the imperfetto conjugation for the verbs avere and essere, just that. And then the rest, just past participle and the rest of your sentence. Now, what are the conjugations? If you have forgotten, for avere, we had avevo, avevi, aveva, avevamo, avevate, avevano. And for essere, we had ero, eri, era. Eravamo, eravate, erano. Yeah. Now, we learned how to make trapassato prossimo. There are a few things that we should be careful about while we are making these sentences in trapassato prossimo. And these are exactly the things we had to be careful about while we were talking about passato prossimo. So for example, when our verb shows a movement, shows a motion, or better to say, when our verb doesn't have any direct object, we would use essere as the auxiliary verb. When our verb doesn't show any movement or motion, or better to say, when our verb has a direct object, we would use avere as the auxiliary verb. When our verb needs us to use reflexive objective pronoun, we need to esse as auxiliary verb again. Reflexive objective pronoun, you remember there were some verbs that we had to use the reflexive objective pronoun with them. Like for example, sentirsi, to feel, or ricordarsi, to remember. Okay, it's hard a little to speak two languages kind of after each other. It makes you a little confused, the pronunciations. So ricordarsi, to remember. Okay, these are the verbs that we need to use the reflexive objective pronoun with them. And for these verbs, we should use essere as the auxiliary verb. There is one more point too. You remember when we used to use the modal verbs, we had to put the infinitive form of the verb in front of them. Okay, modal verb and then the infinitive form of our verb in front of that. Okay, like I want to go. Okay, voglio andare. Right? Now here, well, we use the past participle of our modal verb. But if the infinitive we put in front of it is among the verbs that doesn't have direct object or shows a movement, we should use essere again. But if it doesn't show any movement or it has a direct object, then we can easily just use avere, just like the normal situations we had. The session is finished. Trapassato prossimo, one of the easiest tenses. And actually that was easy because you already know passato prossimo and imperfetto. And that is what I have always said about Italian. Italian is pretty super easy. And that is because of this. It has many tenses. It has many rules, but they are dependent to each other. For example, when you, just like here, learn some things, learn some tenses, a few, then after that, the rest of the tenses are just a combination of them, or just the previous tenses with a little change in them. And that's why I say this here is facile come Italiano, easy as Italian. So now, I will see you in the next couple of days. Take care of yourself. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Like the video if you like the content and you found it useful. I would see you in the next couple of days. Have fun.